especially nowadays, everything just makes sense. Hey, Jesus Christ. She's fine. Come here. Hey, get over here. Yeah. Joe, come on. You're a golden retriever, not an attack dog. She's been a pretty impressive dog, man.
She is an impressive dog. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Guys, if y'all hear anything before I do the intro, if y'all hear any barking or any bowl drinking, water drinking, we got a little golden retriever here, Miss Scarlett. You might be able to see her actually in your frame.
Yeah, maybe she'll make a guest appearance, a cameo.
I know, we should have got her in the. Well, I might have to take another picture and have her in it. You know what I'm saying? All right, Greg, you ready to roll?
I'm ready to rock, man.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bring in guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, to share their story, their journey, and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. Check this out, subscribe, follow, all the things, share. If that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but you need to jump on board.
Subscribe.
Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
That being said, without further ado, I would love to introduce our guest today, my friend, Mr. Greg Anderson.
Thanks, Joe.
Dude, welcome.
Dude, it's been a long time coming.
A long time coming.
I remember when you moved in here, we were next door neighbors, and I remember you were saying you had your own podcast and stuff like that, and I was like, man, I hope he invites me on one day. And
100 episodes later.
100 episodes later, here I am.
I think it was just a matter of like timing it. So Greg and I go back when I moved into the Relentless Pursuit headquarters, and
about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think I moved in like June 22. So over 2 years.
If you moved in June of 22, yeah, then because I moved in, I think we moved in next door right at the end of May. So
yeah, y'all moved in like right before me.
Right, like literally right before.
Yeah, I think they were doing my build out when y'all were moved in.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I signed the contract in April, and but yeah, long story short, moved in, and Greg ran a diesel shop at the suite right next door, and so we got to know each other over time, and I've watched his business grow, and then now he's building over, and he's got a much larger space and a lot more business. So things have changed, but we're still neighbors.
We have grown quite a lot in 2.5 years, man. It's been a ride.
It's been cool. Dude, I feel you.
It's been a lot. Dude.
I know. And Greg's busy as hell. Like, I always see this dude working, and I think he sees, we don't get to hang out much, but every time we do, we'll come kick it here for a couple hours and just chat it up.
Yeah, I'm usually coming in the morning, your truck's here, and when I leave late at night, your truck is either usually here or was just here. So
yep.
I mean, it's the sunset on Richard Reeves is really nice,
dude. It is actually.
I've seen a lot of them,
dude. It actually is pretty nice coming down over the. We got the beautiful view of the Amazon warehouse across the street.
not the Amazon like rainforest, just the warehouse.
Yeah. Even prettier.
Backed up by a nice background noise of I-24. So
yeah, no, it's not bad out here though. We got a good. It's a good location because I would do not want to be in the middle of town.
I'm actually so I've been talking. We've been talking about trying to find another location so we can build our own shop this time and start selling them for the long haul. And we were looking at some of these lots right up here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to figure that out. But that was like my biggest thing is like I don't want to leave the area I'm in because it just like this area works, man. And it does. It's more and more people are building shit down here, and it's going to be really busy, and it's easy access to all around pretty much Murfreesboro. So
yeah, we're already set in stone. Doing our things, man.
Yeah.
But so Greg and I have had a lot of valuable conversation over the years. We connect in a lot of ways, I'd say.
Yeah.
And, we've gotten along. I consider you a good friend. We're always grinding, but it's always really cool.
Yeah, I think your business is growing too, and just running a business on your own, man. It's like you can respect the hustle that the other guy's going because you guys are both going through the same thing, and it's just So
it's interesting. We're going to talk a lot about that because we've expressed things to each other recently just about the struggle, man. And it's
the struggle, having similar problems, even though we're on totally opposite ends of the career field. So.
I know, totally different. But like, that's the thing, though. We do connect in so many ways as business owners, man, and especially with our brick and mortar space and the economy and the world we're in, and we just keep going.
Yeah, man.
And
it's
a lot of tests.
A lot.
Yeah.
Every day, dude. Today was one of those days where I just want to like ball up under the table and be like, just go away, I quit.
Yeah. Nobody talk to me ever again. I'm done. I'm just getting rid of it all. But no, but you think about that too, you know, obviously we'll touch on it more, but you got, you know, essentially you got families to feed. You got people there that work with you, dude, that like, you know, feed their families from the business you've created. And so there's, you know, that's the thing. There's that pressure. There's a lot to lose, you know.
Dude, and in my opinion, I mean, the thing that gets me up and rolling every morning is not, you know, I do love what I do and you know, passionate about it, but it's making sure that the guys that are working, I hate to say working for me, but working with me are able to, you know, they're entrusting me to help them provide for their family by giving them employment. And that's like the huge driving factor. It's like, if I let them down, then I'm, you know, I'm all right letting myself down. I can recover from that. But if I let them down, then like I'm totally screwed.
Yeah, dude. And they're all solid individuals. I mean, they've all been
It's tough to find high quality individuals these days, man. And luckily I've been able to pluck a few out, and they're some great dudes, and they've really helped out. So
oh yeah, man. Well, last thing I want to say too, and just to show y'all what kind of guy Greg is, you know, Greg's get busy as shit. He works on like FedEx fleet vehicles, and I'll let you kind of talk about what you do.
Sure.
But I wrecked my truck back in October, and I couldn't find somebody to touch my truck for months. And I was like, well, I need my freaking vehicle.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that, to be honest with you.
I was like, yo, Greg, I need my truck fixed. Like, what can you do? And, of course, he took it in, no questions. He was like, Joe, I'll get you squared away. And, of course, we were waiting on a part from GM for a month.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of back order. I remember there was a couple things that were back ordered, and it was a job for sure.
Yeah, but y'all got me squared away, man. I'm forever grateful. Yeah. So, and any diesel questions I have, I just call Greg. I'm like, hey, what do I do about this? But anyways, so there's a little backstory on us. We'll dive into it more, but first, Greg, just briefly introduce yourself. Tell everyone what it is that you do, just quickly.
Yeah. And
then we're going to take it back, but I'll let you cover that first.
I'll just hit the wave tops right now. So I'm Greg Anderson. I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you know, went to high school there, went to college out of state, and South Carolina at the Citadel, and then went to the military.
Citadel.
Yeah.
my dad's listening, just fired up. You know,
there's 3 people that I still talk to from school. I pretty much, you know, I don't talk to anybody from high school, but there's 3 dudes that I talked to from the Citadel, and that's it. That's it. That's the only people I really talk to.
That's funny.
So yeah, went to the Citadel. That was a good time. Got to party a lot down in Charleston and all that stuff, and then went to the military for 9 years. Did just a huge wide variety of different stuff, and it was pretty cool. And then got out of there, did some construction down in Orlando. Did that for about a year, and I hated that, residential construction. And then worked for a solar company for a while, doing commercial projects and stuff like that. And then I had an opportunity to move back up here and start my own business, so I did.
Nice.
Yeah, so here we are.
And you work, and essentially you do heavy diesel mechanic work.
Yeah, so I've always been pretty interested in automotive stuff since I was a kid. You know, I had one of my dad's brothers. I just remember we went up to visit him, and he just always had just some sort of monstrous muscle car in his garage that he was running down the strip, and basically my dad's brother, Uncle Nelson, I kind of was envious of him and his ability to just, you could call this guy at any damn point and be like, hey, I have this problem, and he's like, try this, and then sure enough, like, that fixes it. He's diagnosed so much stuff over the phone, with expertise, like precision expertise.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's insane, dude. Yeah, and so I've always been super envious of that, and I just, I've always enjoyed being around cars and vehicles and all that kind of stuff, and I love working on that stuff. So yeah, it came time to start my own business, and I was like, I'm done dealing with the everyday public. Like, I don't want, that kind of stuff. So
you deal with who you want to, essentially.
Yeah, deal with who I want to. Go out and get my own customers, and run fleet maintenance, and it's been awesome, dude.
Oh yeah,
it's been awesome.
Dude, I'll stay busy, man. I see it. I see it.
It's a hustle. Dude. It's a hustle.
It reminds me, you're talking about your uncle. It reminds me of my boy Todd Bowling from the Air Force, Bowling. But he was that kind of guy. He's from Southern Indiana, middle of nowhere, and he knew so much about like working on shit. It's the same way.
Yeah, dude.
I called him one time. I was like, dude, my car's doing this. Like, what do I do? Dude, it took him seconds. He was like, oh yeah, go in there, grab this part. And it's something I never even heard of. And he's like, swap that out. I'll tell you, I'll walk you through it. It took like 5 minutes, dude. It was fixed. I was like, how the hell, man? You didn't even see.
Dude, quick. Yeah, just a quick caveat on that. My uncle, since we're telling stories real quick, is I rebuilt a 1989 Jeep YJ when I was in Virginia Beach with the military. So I bought this old truck. I pulled the engine on it, dude. I did like the whole, everything mechanical.
Yeah.
It got replaced, rebuilt, fixed, whatever it was. It ended up being a pretty sweet machine. But when I put the engine and all that stuff back together, distributor and all that, there's, not to get super scientific, but the distributor operates in a certain direction and order. And each, the firing engine, firing order of the engine, has to line up with where the distributor sends the power to, so that it fires on the proper stroke. And I had everything lined up perfectly, except everything was just twisted by one peg. So basically, you put all your spark plug wires on, and they have to go in a certain direction. But I was off by like one, and I was like, man, I can't get this thing fired. So I called him. And he says, try and start it. So I tried to start it, and he was like listening over the phone. And this is back before like the iPhones were like super good. Like I might even had a BlackBerry at this time. And so he's just listening to it, and I'm telling him what's going on and this, that, and the other. And he's like, man, check your wiring again. He's like, I feel like you're off by your firing order's out just by like 1 or 2. And I was like, all right. So I checked again. I was like, son of a gun. I was like,
how the hell?
Right, dude, how the hell did you know that over the phone? And I had checked that like 2 or 3 times already, and I just had overlooked it both times. And and then sure enough, dude, I called him in like 15 minutes. He's like, just do this. And sure enough, I fixed it, and boom, it ran like a dream, dude.
It's crazy how some people's minds work like that, dude. It's just wild.
Just gifted, dude.
They get it, man. I mean, it's crazy because I worked on jets in the military. I could work on weapon systems all day, but you put a car in front of me, I'm like, oh, shit. I got like $100 million jet. I'm like, oh, yeah. But you put a car in front of me, I'm like, oh, let me like do some research real quick.
Yeah.
Change the tire, so. But
as long as you can change the spare tire,
you're
good.
Not on my truck. I mean, if I get a flat man, I got to call somebody.
Dude.
Yeah, damn
That's
it.
way too high.
Yeah, but anyway, so take us back again a little bit. You're from Chattanooga. Is that where your family's at now?
Yeah, that's where all my family has eventually migrated back to Chattanooga.
So you lived in Chattanooga your whole life, all the way until the Citadel, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Absolutely. My parents are both from Maryland. They got married, moved around. My brother's born in Texas. They were in Texas for a couple of years, and they moved up to Georgia, and then into Tennessee, and then decided to have 3 more kids. So there's like 4 of us all together, dude. And it's we get together for family outings and whatnot, and it's loud, dude. It's crazy.
Y'all do it pretty often as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean we try to. I mean, hell, my brother and both of my sisters all have kids, nieces and nephews, varying ages, and yeah, I mean we go to Lake House, hang out, but yeah, any like big holidays, usually I tend to flock back home because it's cool. Just where all the stuff is at,
Nice, man. So you're close with everybody then. Your whole family's pretty tight.
Yeah, family's pretty tight, man. And honestly, like when I had the chance to move back, I knew I was want to come back to the Tennessee area. 1, it's a gorgeous state, but 2, I want to be close enough to my family where I could visit them on the weekends and stuff.
Not right next door.
Yeah, but like not right next.
I feel you.
But yeah, no, we all get along, man, and hang out. I would say, especially since moving back here, my brother and I have started to get a lot closer, and his kids.
That's cool.
So we didn't get to just because of the age range. He was always either going into high school and I was going into middle school, or he was graduating high school as I came into high school, and then he was we just didn't get to a whole lot of see each other a whole lot.
So now y'all are connected more.
So yeah, good. and it's good, man. I mean, like, we sometimes, like the other weekend, him and I just went to Lake House with his son, and we just hung out, dude, and just did bro stuff.
That's dope.
Like legit bro stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Did y'all so I guess growing up, going through high school, were you like an athlete or anything like that? And
let me tell you something about that real quick.
Uh-oh.
So my family is the least athletic family you could
really.
Yeah, I mean, we all like, because the high school we went to, so my brother and I we were fortunate enough to go to a private high school called Macaulay in Chattanooga, and you have to do a sport and stuff there. I think both my brother and I both did football in 7th grade. That we were definitely not cut out for that. I mean, we were all like pretty shrimpy anyway. Like, we're not like big. You got big, broad shoulders and shit. But
thanks.
We're all like more like just not built
slender.
Yeah, more slender, and like we're just not built to be linebackers and defensive ends and tight ends and stuff. And we just don't have a lot of speed when it comes to running.
Yeah.
so we bounced around in some sports. Both of my sisters were actually pretty good collegiate swimmers. I would say they're probably more athletic than the rest of us, but sports were like really never our thing. So
yeah, it's funny. My dad was a swimmer at the Citadel.
Was it really?
Yeah, he swam. Yeah. He swam his whole life, and he swam at the Citadel. And now he's doing Ironman, so it's fitting.
What's funny is I think a lot. I'm sure it was an intramural or a. They don't even have a swim team anymore.
Oh, really?
No, they don't. They pretty much just focus on like the big sports like baseball, football, basketball.
No, they had like a legit swim team at the time.
Yeah,
back in the 80s.
Well, early 80s. I did crew, so I actually did crew in high school. And we were pretty. I was all right. I was in shape.
What was it?
Crew rowing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and actually the Citadel was supposed to have a crew team, and they had boats. They had all the stuff, but they just never had anybody to coach, and they never they had a boathouse and all that stuff, because at one point I think they had a legitimate crew program, but it kind of fell apart, and nobody ever picked it back up. So,
what a bummer, dude. You could have been the one to lead the charge.
Man, I'm going to be honest. I'm glad. My knees are glad crew is over. So.
Yeah, I bet, man. What would you say, going through your childhood, were some of your biggest influences, and maybe some like life-changing things that that may have occurred? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So growing up, we were all pretty fortunate, and it's maybe jumping ahead, but when you get to running your own business and you see what like people have to go through. I mean, my dad bought a franchise alarm business way back in the day. Early 80s, I think, maybe late 70s. And he started with that once he left his previous company. So he's like, my dad and I are very much alike. And actually, I may be jumping around here, but when I left my job down in Orlando, my dad and I were hanging out, and he goes, "You're gonna have the same problem I had." And I was like, "Well, what is that?" He's like, "Hey, you just hate to work for other people." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's infuriating sometimes." and essentially it was like, that's what happened to me, is that I got so frustrated with the people managing, the business that I was working at. He said, I said, "Screw it, I'm gonna go start my own thing." So him and my mom, when they moved up to Tennessee, he bought a franchise alarm business and started that. Or I don't think he started. I think he bought into it and took it over. While he was doing that, and had I think 3 kids at the time, and then my little sister wasn't born until like early 90s. But while he was doing that, he started back into what he loved to do, which was like it's really hard. It's kind of hard to explain. Mostly like chemical manufacturing on like for cosmetics and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of cosmetic chemicals and cleaners and stuff like that. So that actually, so he started that business called Colonial Chemical down in it started in Chattanooga, but now it's out in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. But he started that in like 85 or something like that, and literally started it in the garage. And that grew, and then they moved into a warehouse downtown in Chattanooga, and then they moved out to South Pittsburgh after many years. But so he was basically essentially running 2 businesses, and how the hell he did it, I have no idea.
Yeah,
running 2 businesses, raising a family of 3, and then eventually it was 4. And like looking back, I guess you don't really know what your parents went through to like get where they are, but like I'm starting to really understand it, you know? So, you know, but back to the original question, you know, I guess, you know, really we spent a lot of time with my mom because my dad was, not saying he wasn't there, but he was always traveling. I mean, he was there at sports events, you know, big things and stuff like that. I just remember him, you know, he was always working a good bit. So, you know, I spent a lot of time with mom, and you know, my older siblings growing up, we weren't always like allowed to like go hang out at like friends' houses and stuff. Well, I mean, we did, but it wasn't like they could like come. You know, we were much more, I don't want to say like sheltered, but you know, regimented, I guess, or structured.
Yeah.
As far as like what we could and couldn't do. And I just always remember like anytime I got like away from all that stuff is like when I would cut loose. So
just get wild as hell.
Just get wild as hell. But you know, that's a tough question, man. Who, you know, childhood influences? I mean, I would definitely say, I mean, looking back, I would say you know, I most of my personality and that kind of stuff is definitely, I would say, shared between my parents. I mean, they were definitely a big influence in my life. And they're actually like still together. They've been like, shit, dude, since 77, so 60 50 years, I don't know, whatever that math it works out. 77 to 24.
Nice.
Yeah, so they've been married a long ass time, and I mean, they were definitely, I would say, probably one of the most influential in the long haul.
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
You know
well, it's cool how, you know, point out your father, you know, building the businesses he has. And
yeah.
I remember you telling me before he's been extremely successful.
Oh yeah, he's crushing it now.
Yeah.
He ended up selling an alarm business back in, I think, the late 90s. And he basically, he actually stepped down from the president spot, and my brother runs the business on, like, you know, day-to-day stuff now. So, but he just does still like long-term projects, and they actually just opened a manufacturing place like in Saudi Arabia because they did so much business over there, dude. So like he's, you know, prestige worldwide.
Yeah, look at him, dude, international.
Yeah, he's crushing it, dude. And I mean, he travels like the guy's. He's gonna, if he ever hears this, he'll hate me. But I think he's 71. He was born in 1951, so he's 73. Is that right? Is my math right? Yeah.
Shit.
72,
don't
73.
Don't math me off on the on the spot. Okay, let me get my cell phone out.
Yeah, so he's 73, and I mean, he's in Saudi Arabia right now. He got back from there, and he was in. He travels around the globe, like.
That's insane.
Frequently.
Dude, your dad grinds.
Yeah, dude, he grinds. A lot of times nowadays, now that all the kids are out of the house, he takes mom with him sometimes.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I mean, he's just straight crushing it out
nice.
there. And just, you know, he'll be like one of those guys you just walk in the office and they're like, that's how we win. Like
happy as can be.
Yeah, never retire. And
Hell yeah.
He loves it, man. And he's, you know, he's done a he's left some big shoes to try and match up because he's crushing it so much.
But I wanted to say something, you know, listening to you talk about your dad, man, it's crazy. I mean, you know, maybe like you said, you didn't notice it then, right?
Right.
But you see how that's played a part in now, like the action you take. Like you're like, dude, here I am. It's me.
Yeah.
It's still freaking hard.
Sorry, shit, dude.
But it's like he did this with a family and shit. Look what he's become. Yeah. You know, like there's no excuse. Like you got that. It's a good thing to have. It's good to have those lessons. It's the same thing. You know, look at, you know, Lydia's father is extremely successful like that. His business is he's got massive factories in Smithville and stuff.
Stupid.
And you know what? But, you know, in the tough times, Lydia's able to be like, Joe, like it's hard to get your significant other to get on board with starting a business. Like that can tear marriages apart, but she's seen it.
Yeah, dude.
So she knows what it's like. So she doesn't give me that pressure.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She's extremely supportive.
She understands what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like looking back, I mean, I totally understand what he's trying to do. I mean, he, you know, it'd be like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we'd be like eating dinner because Dad just got home, you know, like as a kid. And I don't know how the hell my mom did it. I mean, she was 4 kids, she just was always running around.
Yeah.
Just always running around to this practice or taking somebody here. I mean, she was,
different.
Yeah.
And then, you know, nowadays though, like a lot of stuff nowadays you're not traveling as much. Like you can be in a career field where you can build a business to that scale.
Yeah.
And do a lot of the shit remote just because of the technological advances.
Nowadays, yeah.
You know?
Nowadays. I mean, I remember one time when I was learning to drive. So my dad, so there's actually a photo, there's a photo somewhere at my parents' house. And it's from like I think I have a copy of it on my phone somewhere, but I think it's from 1989. And it was in the first house I remember, and I think the house I was born at, it's a like 86, 87 like Mercury Grand Marquis or it was a Ford Crown Vic. I don't know, it's blue though. I remember that. And it was like my dad was holding up a sign that said like Thanksgiving like 1989 or whatever it was. And like everybody's like running around with their shirts off and shit, and it's like November. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean he always had like just big like, you know, businessman cars. Like, I mean, the older Crown Vics, I mean, they were like 16 feet long.
Yeah.
4 doors. I mean, they were just miles long.
Like steering a boat.
And yeah, so eventually he got into like Lincoln Town cars, and then he got into Cadillac. So I like learned to drive on a Cadillac. And of course, I mean, those things, they handle like a wet sponge. Like it's just like all over the road. And we drove, he was just like taking some like samples of product up to a customer in like Kentucky, and he was like, let's go. And it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you know? And he's like, let's go. I'm like, what do you mean let's go? Like, we're
yeah, I'm trying to get ready for bed.
Like, I'm going to bed in like 3 hours. And dude, we got in the Cadillac and we drove. It was the first time I drove like long distance with him, and like I think at dark too. And dude, we drove like 3 hours up to some like small ass town in Kentucky, dropped this shit off at a business that was locked, and turned around and drove back.
That's funny as shit. Hell, hey, you know, he's just showing you the way,
dude.
You probably you didn't understand at the time, but he was like, "Hey, man, I got to get these samples of these people."
Dude,
like,
100%. Now I'm like, oh well. I mean, there's times like a customer will call and it'd be like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, "Hey, can you squeeze this truck in, or can you at least get a look at it?" And like, dude, I don't have anybody in the freaking area. A lot of times we have to go. You know, it'll be if I'll run up to Smyrna, or like I know my technicians got a full schedule, and they'll just hit me up right at the end of the day. Hey, can we get this checked real quick? We got to run this truck tomorrow. And I'm like, but it's like, now I understand. It's like now I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there and check it. This dude needs his truck, and I need business, so I'm not gonna say no to that. You know?
Yeah,
like,
going that extra mile is just gonna set you apart from the rest.
Oh, for sure, dude. I mean, the one thing that I'll boast about is our customer retention rate is just like super high.
Sky high.
Oh, I mean, guys, that we picked up an entire FedEx terminal pretty much at like multiple contractors, and we were just able to get our foot in the door just a little bit, and then it just spread like wildfire in there, dude. Because
you do that, you go do that extra shit.
Yeah, we've outlasted. There's other fleet companies that have tried to squeeze in there, and you know, and I told the guys, I said, dude, they'll last 2 or 3 months, and usually they're gone. And sure enough, man, like 2 or 3 different companies that try to come in there and provide maintenance for them, and they last 2 or 3 months and they're gone. I mean,
dude, it's kind of like on the sales end of things, you know, when I have my apparel going steady, you know, I've had somebody order something and I'm like, shit, dude, I messed up the inventory.
Yeah.
Dude, that's on me. And so I'll be like, listen,
why should they have to pay
I don't have this. I can refund you, or I can send you another shirt in that size. Here's the options. They're like, okay, yeah, I'll just take that one.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll send them that plus a shirt and maybe even a beanie and some stickers. And they're like, every time they're like, dude, your customer service is like next level.
Dude, and I honestly, like, I mean, that's what keeps, obviously, like, you have to keep business coming in, but I mean, that's just going that extra like step for customers, and just, you know, they're like, damn, this guy's awesome, and continue to use him. And then that like gives you, you know, fixing trucks. I mean, eventually you're either going to do it wrong, or you're going to get a bad part, or you're going to screw up something in the process, because there's just there's so much that sometimes goes into it.
Yeah, t-shirt's a little bit
so like, well, yeah, but I mean, eventually, like, it just gives you a little bit of leeway. So like, if you do screw up, and you know the customer's usually a lot more understanding. Hey, I'll fix it and we'll make it right. And usually it's just, you know,
they're like, you know what,
he's gonna fix it. I trust him. He's good. Yeah, and that's usually how it goes. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So, you know, following up high school, you went to the Citadel, which is the military college of South Carolina.
Yeah.
my dad's like so proud of it, but he is. It's been a big part of his life.
It's changed a lot. I mean, everybody. The first thing you learn when you go there, that everybody that's been there before you always says that the school's changed and it's not the same as it used to be. So
oh yeah, he tells me like stories about like back in the 80s.
Yeah,
you know, he graduated 84 and how like, and then he reads articles and stuff about what's going on now, and he's like, dude, it's a totally different back then. Yeah, and I can only imagine. I mean, a lot of shit was really cool in the 80s.
Yeah, well, you can also get away with a lot of shit too. So I mean, it was definitely a different school. I mean, they've had a bunch of different, you know, people are gonna shoot me for not remembering her name, but they had the one chick that went through there. That was the first girl that would go through the Citadel, and that, you know, changed a bunch of stuff, and then, you know, just kind of all, you know, changed from there. So
yeah,
I mean, it's just the natural state of things that they change.
It changes, yeah.
I mean, everything does. So.
You can't get away with all like the crazy hazing, I guess they call it.
Yeah,
I don't know. My friends and I haze each other for fun. I'm in my 30s. We just do this shit. No, but what was that experience like, man? What led you to go there, anyways,
dude? So, well. I almost didn't graduate high school because I just would straight up and just not do homework.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, my older brother was straight A, and he worked his butt off too, like all through high school and college. I mean, he was always studying and going to class and, you know, getting A's and A pluses and stuff. My older sister, she worked pretty hard. She was mostly an A student, but and then it was like me, and I was like, I don't care if C's good enough. Let's roll.
I just gotta get the paper.
I just gotta get the diploma. Yeah. and then of course my little sister comes along and she barely does any work and she gets A's. So it's like, I hate you. But it was I barely graduated mainly because I didn't do homework, so all my grades were really crappy, and I rarely studied for tests, and so all my test scores were like very middle of the line. I mean, I always just did like enough to pass, and I was like, yeah, that's good enough.
Same.
Yeah. And so dude, honestly, I wanted to go be a pilot like in Top Gun, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go to the military college or academy. And so I was like looking at the Naval Academy and West Point and all that stuff, and the Air Force Academy, and like my grades were like trash compared to like what everybody else. I mean, usually a lot of the guys that apply to that have like 4.0s or, you know, they're magna cum laude or cum laude, or, you know, they graduate high school with like honors and all this stuff, and you're like, oh. And
you're like, yo, I got 2.0.
I was like 2.2 here, baby.
Come on.
And so I kind of wanted to go there, and then I was like, oh, well, I mean, the Citadel's a military school, and very much like a lot of my decisions when I was younger were like impulsive as shit. So I was like, oh, military college. So like actually it threw a lot of stuff off because I did an early application to the Citadel in my junior year of high school and was accepted, you know, pending obviously graduation from high school. And so, like, the senior year rolled around in high school, and they were like, oh, we're going to practice on writing college essays. I was like, I already wrote mine, and I don't have to write one. And so, like, there was, like, almost a month of, like, English class where, like, people were doing, like, college essays where, like, I didn't do shit, dude. Like, and the teacher was cool with it. He was like, yeah, he's like, oh, well, if you've already got accepted, like, don't worry about it.
You're good.
So, yeah, he's like, you're good. And I was like, cool. So,
nice.
Yeah, that was, I do remember that. But, so yeah, I just ended up going to Citadel, went and did a tour, and I was like, this is cool. I was like, I knew it was a pathway into like what I wanted to do, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was like dead set on like wanting to be a Navy fighter pilot, and
so you signed what you basically picked like the Navy, because don't you pick what branch you're gonna go?
Yeah. So in the Citadel, it's a
ROTC
state
thing?
Yeah, it's an ROTC thing. It's state funded, whereas all the service academies are like federally funded. And so because it's state funded, you know, there's a military aspect to the academic and lifestyle there, but then there's also ROTC, and you have to choose an ROTC, but you don't have to contract with an ROTC. But so I went to the Citadel mainly because I probably wouldn't have made it anywhere else. I used to party a lot in high school. That got me into some trouble. You know, like stealing dad's liquor out of his cabinet.
Oh yeah,
and shit. Yeah, like you know, all that stuff. And so yeah, that ended up going to the Citadel, and really kind of like the same thing happened. Like once I found out like you only got demerits for going to class, like dude, pretty much my junior, senior year were like all just filling out punishments like on the weekends and stuff because I had just racked up so many demerits. like actually the 3 buddies and really I only talked to 2 of them now, but the 2 guys I talk to still frequently. I think they're actually coming up in September, so you'll have to meet them. But
nice.
Yeah, they're coming up. We're gonna go to the Nashville Grand Prix, I think. So they'll be in town for a couple of days. I'll see what you're doing. But anyway, we pretty much just hung out every weekend because we were always on punishments at the Citadel. And dude, we would like sneak out in the nighttime at nighttime. I mean, literally, like sophomore year, like going out the window on a rope because they've locked up the gates and stuff into like the back of somebody's truck so we can go party down the street. but yeah, so I did my really 4.5 years there. I started as a physics major, believe it or not, dude. I like that. I like science and physics and all that kind of stuff. But I really struggled with the trigonometry class because they had like one teacher and she like taught the board the whole time, you know, and she was had a very thick Vietnamese accent. And so dude, I'm more of like an audio and like hands-on kind of learner. So she's just sitting there like writing shit on the board. I can't follow that at all.
I don't know what's going on.
I failed that class twice, and basically like the school counselor was like, "Well, if you still want to graduate on time, you need to switch majors."
Physics ain't happening.
I was like, all right. So like, yeah, I mean, I failed that trigonometry class twice, and basically even like the Navy ROTC was like, yeah, you're probably not gonna make it into our flight program. So I was like, all right, well, what's option 3? Or 4, or whatever option I was on at that time, was my buddy that his name's Tone, by the way. His actual name's like William, but he's got the nickname Tone, and that's a whole nother story. But so Tone was like, why don't you join the Marine Corps with me? And I was like, and he's a little bit different he's much more like motivated with that kind of stuff and like gets a hard on for like military stuff still. But I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, I'll do it. You know,
just gung ho as shit.
Yeah. He can get pretty gung ho, but like again, like just another impulsive decision, like life decision. I was like, let's do it, dude. So like we walked down there and talked to the recruiter. And I was like, this is of course senior year when I didn't have like no other plans. Like I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do when I came out of college. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I did that, and I was actually in the flight program for the Marine Corps. And then once I got down there, dude, it was just. It really wasn't quite what I thought it was, and I think some of that was they had a massive backlog at that time for pilots, and it was literally, I think it was like a 9 to 10 month backlog, and so like, I just went through all the training, you know, OCS and TBS and stuff like that up in Quantico, and I knocked that all out, and you know, at the time I was super, you know, motivated and gung ho, and I'm like, well, you know, let's get rolling with this and all that kind of stuff. And then you like go hit a giant backlog down in Pensacola, Florida. And at the time you're like, oh, so you didn't have to do anything? And it's like, no, we didn't really. We would just have to show up for formation, get accountability, and then we're done. And then that went on for like 3 months. And then you're like, dude, I'm so bored and like ready to get on with my career. That I actually, again, in school, I just kind of like stopped studying for the test. And luckily though, like right after I left the basic school, I worked with a guy who worked in like the manpower office. And so like I called when I was ready to like get out of flight school and like change my MOS. I called and he answered the phone and he was like, hey, it's so-and-so. And I was like, oh, what's up? And he's like, what's up? He's like, what can I help you with? I was like, well, this is my situation and I just need to know what my options are. And he's like, well, how about this? He's like, these are all the school dates. These are the available MOSs. And he's like, which one do you want? And, you know, but this one's going to fit your career. Nobody ever gets that. Usually if you want to change your MOS, you have to like select 3 and send off. And then they like,
it's random choice.
Yeah, they like, oh, well, we need somebody over here. And
here's the worst one.
and that was like your 5th choice. And they're like, oh, that's what you're getting. But dude, this guy was like, oh, this is what's available. What do you want? And I was like, damn, like
sick.
Nobody. I was like, shit. So I actually just school wise and like career wise, it was ended up getting into logistics with the Marine Corps. And again, like at the time, there was just a lot of backlogs in school, but they did move me up to Camp Lejeune, and they put me with a platoon in the like Fleet Marine Corps before I'd even gone to like logistics officers course and all that stuff. And so I was from the time I changed my MOS and moved and all that, it was probably like 2 or 3 months, and I was like actually doing like military stuff and like running some like training ops and stuff like that, and actually like had a platoon. And that was pretty like eye opening, to be honest. And you know, you grow up a little bit quicker when like you show up and there's like a bunch of, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Enlisted dudes that you got to lead.
And they're like, you know, they're all like looking to you for like, first of all, like anytime you go in the military as like a second lieutenant, you're like fresh as, you know, fresh as hell. And then people are like, who's this boot ass, you know, dude? And so like, you know, there's already like a stereotype for like new lieutenants and stuff, and that they don't know anything. And, so my whole thing was like, well, I've got to obviously like earn the respect and trust. So I tried to do that, but then, you know, it's just when somebody comes to you and they're like, well, some of the problems that you run into, and a lot of people like don't even think about this when they think about the military, but like if you're even like a senior NCO or something like that, like you have younger Marines and soldiers or whatever come up and they're like, well, he was 19 and he was like, well, I hit a deer with my car. The deer flew up and hit the car in back of him, and the driver died because of that. And he's like, I'm like up to my eyeballs in debt, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And like, just like, you got to literally like, yeah. Oh, God. And so, I mean, this is I'm not gonna give any names or anything, but this is a true story. And like literally, so that happened, and then like literally the next week, like somebody stole his truck or something like that. And so like this guy just got hit with a bunch, and I was like, I'm like 24 years old, like 25 years old.
I'm figuring out life problems.
Like damn, dude.
Jesus.
That shit comes. Yeah. So like, you know, you've got to like counsel somebody like that, and you have like pretty much zero experience to pull from, you know, like, well, I got really drunk in college one time. And I lost my wallet. Like shit was nuts, or I got in a fight, you know. It's just, so that was pretty eye opening, and I don't know, it was good though. I mean, I needed that. I needed to like grow up and do that, you know, like do adult stuff.
Did you help him? Were you able to help him?
Yeah, I mean, we got him the help he needed.
Yeah.
I think we ended up getting him like, we put him in touch with the chaplain, I think, which is, you know, and just, you know, he let him talk to him, and I think that he got into some therapy because of that. And then we got him a debt, you know, we talked to his bank or whatever, and got him I guess it's called a debt consolidation loan.
Yeah.
And you know, like some Navy Federal thing that they were putting out for guys. And yeah, I mean, most like young Marines and soldiers, and I'm sure airmen too, like, you know, they get a little bit of money and they just go absolutely buy the most expensive, highest interest rate, you know, sports car that they can afford, or giant monster truck. And they, you know, their damn monthly paychecks don't even cover what's due on the car, because it's at like the 28% interest or something.
Dude, yeah.
And they overpaid the shit out of it.
Yeah. I gotta use like Honda Civic, like,
yeah,
but it was the SI, so it was cool. You know, stick shift. And it was a great car, man. That car lasted forever.
Yeah.
But I didn't have crazy payments, but I mean, shit, I was stationed in Florida at Panama City, so like I spent all my money partying.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd be broke, and I'm like, dude, I gotta stretch this $20 out for the next 7 days. I'll figure it out. And you know, it's funny as shit, man. But that's just, I think, you know, being especially an early enlisted guy.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, man, I'm poor. Yeah. And this money goes fast. And then
for sure.
I had a girlfriend one time. I was dating this girl. She was like in a sorority, and she was like, I can't. She told me this. She's like, I don't know if this is gonna work, because you get paid like basically like poverty level. And I was like, that's fucked up. I'm like, yo, yeah, I'm like an E2. Like, dude, that shit hit me, man. I was like 19 years old. I was still living in the dorms on base. And I was like, well, I mean, it kind of felt like that at some points, but no, it was a good life though, man. But it's funny, you meet like a second lieutenant, and you're like, those guys are rich. You know, we think like the officers are loaded, man.
Dude, I didn't make a whole bunch of money in the military, but I will say that there's definitely like a comfort zone, and you know, I went in the military and I was there for 8.5, 9 years, but there is definitely a comfort zone, because you know that paycheck's coming every 2 weeks, and you know that, you know, there's certain parts of your career path that, you know, on the officer side more so, like after, was it 4 years, then you go up to a selection board for career designation, and then basically career designation just means, we'll keep you around as long as you do your job and you get good reports. And then, they'll continue your service basically. And obviously if you screw up or you have really shitty reports, they'll kick you out. But career designation. So basically the first 4 years of an officer are considered like your probationary period. And so you go first lieutenant, you go second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and then you go for career designation board, and you can pick up captain, while you're there. And so like I had career designated, I picked up captain. I had done a lot of like leadership billets, and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, man, I woke up and I was like, I'm done. It was like, it came time to move, and I had moved so much.
How long were you in?
8.5 years. It was just over 8.5. It was like 8 years and like 7 months.
When did you join?
2009. So I got out.
That's when I enlisted.
Dude, I reported to Quantico, Virginia on my 23rd birthday, like literally October 1st of my 23rd birthday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I checked in, and that's when OCS started. And then that was 10 weeks. Then I did TBS, which was 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I basically just got jostled around for like another year, and then I finally got into Camp Lejeune, and I was there for about my move schedule got really screwed up, and I was there for about 4.5 years. Just with like there were some big like I was supposed to go to Afghanistan, and my years are all screwed up, dude. But somewhere around like 2013, 2014, and we were actually on a advisor team. Which was like super cool, dude. We got to do some like super sick training, and literally like 2 weeks before we were supposed to get on the plane, like they canceled the deployment because they were giving back like Helmand Providence and all that stuff at that time. So like I was pretty bummed out about that for a while, and like just kind of held that chip on my shoulder. But eventually I was like, you know what, it's probably better that I didn't go.
Did you get to go overseas?
No, I never went over to Afghanistan or anything like that, but I did end up getting on because of some of those experiences. I got to deploy to I went to Romania and did like an Eastern Bloc tour for about 8 months. Got to go to Romania, dude. I was in Germany for like a month, and on top of that, the Romania tour, I think it was like 6 or 7 months, and all around the Black Sea, dude. So like all the shit that's going on in Ukraine, like I know a lot. Our unit was actually in Romania when Russia invaded the Crimea back in 2014.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so like we were getting like ramped up to respond, and we were like making all the pallets and stuff like that, and we had all these like flights possibly scheduled and stuff like that, and nothing ever happened on it. But I got to travel a lot, dude. I went to Lithuania, which is a gorgeous country if you've never been. Super awesome. Yeah, it's super sick. Got to go to Bulgaria, again a coastal country right there on the Black Sea.
Dude, Lithuania's got a really cool history, man. They get together and sing cool. They sing to like the old gods, like in huge like thousands of people. Like, dude, I'm big on that.
I didn't go to a single city that wasn't like, holy shit, like this is good. It's a lot of old like architecture and like cobblestone streets, and it's all like pristine.
It's
all pristine.
Yeah, and they're very like their cultural beginnings. They have a lot of pride in that, so they honor that a lot, and that's really cool. I love countries like that, man.
Yeah. It was honestly I definitely eventually want to get back to Lithuania, and it was sick. It was super sick. So yeah, I got to do that, dude, and then like the Marine Corps sent me over to work with the Army and Stuttgart for literally almost just over a month. I think I was there for 5 weeks, and basically like I landed in Stuttgart. I was getting per diem. I was making serious dough there because I was getting per diem. I was getting like, because the unit was over in Romania, there was some other pay they had added on there. They basically, I was driving an Audi A3 around Germany, like on the Autobahn at like literally like 170 miles an hour.
Nice.
It was sick. And that was all, covered by yours truly tax dollars. So.
Thanks, Gov.
But it was awesome. Did some cool shit. So anyway, I got back from that tour, and I did a big mountain warfare training center. I was out there for like 4 months, just doing basically like rock climbing, survival, like mountain warfare shit. It was awesome. Nice. It was super awesome. Learned a lot from that, and then like because of all that, then I went came time to move, and basically because I didn't get back, I didn't get back from the Black Sea rotational force until like after all the moving. You know, they do, most of the time they move either in the winter or you're a summer mover, but I got back in like the fall, and so like had I not even called my monitor, I probably would have just been like lost for another year, to be honest. So I called the guy in charge of manpower, and I was like, hey, I think I'm due for orders. He's like, oh, you are due for orders. He's like, again, like another cool like hookup. He's like, well, where do you want to go? And
nice.
He was like, here's all the open duty stations. He's like, we just billeted all the other ones. He said, these are all the ones that are still currently open. He's like, which ones do you want? And there was one on there from Virginia Beach for a unit that's no longer there called McSig, which I know sounds weird, but it's Marine Corps Security Cooperation Group. That unit's disbanded now, but it was a super small unit. They did a lot of like foreign military training and stuff, and we actually even got like another MOS out of it. But essentially, I saw that one, dude. It popped up, and I was like, "Yo, let me hit that one up." So I moved to Virginia Beach, and that's when we were up at a real small base called Fort Story. It's just right from like Dam Neck and Little Creek and all that stuff. So it was right on the point. It's super awesome. And we got to do like a lot of like SEER training.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, survival
I got
stuff.
To go, survival shit. I got to go up to Maine to do the CRC school up in Maine. That was an unforgettable experience. Did a lot of like restraint defeat. Got to do one of my favorite things of all time, which was a driving school. And like basically they sent we would go down with other
so you were saying you got stationed in Virginia, and then you had this driving school that you said it was pretty badass.
Yeah, so we used to so the reason I got to do SEER and all that stuff is because we did a lot, and I actually still talk to a couple people that I was stationed with up there, and we became really close because so I got up to Virginia Beach, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put you in." Dude, there are a bunch of acronyms that really don't mean anything. Basically, this team that works with South America a lot.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put you down there, and you can go work with South Americans. I was like, sweet. I fucking suck at Spanish.
Thanks.
I was like, this is gonna work out well. And of course, like, there wasn't a whole lot of like drive on that team. Like, it was like so laid back. It was almost like boring. And so like an opportunity came up, and they're like, oh, we're gonna put you up as the OIC in charge of Force Pro. And I was like, I don't even know what the hell they do. Cool, let's do it. Yeah, send it.
Sounds neat.
And so it actually ended up being one of the coolest things in the entire world. And I mean, I could talk about that unit for days, dude. I mean, we had such a damn great time. It was like literally everybody's dream. Like, it was like, you're in charge, and you got like 9-10 other dudes that just do you get to go around and do cool shit with.
Hell yeah.
It was awesome. And
just like where at?
Yeah, so we did what's that? So we used, I mean, our whole section was like, so we had to teach, so small teams would come through that were going to work with it's called Foreign Security Force Advising. So small teams would come through and work with like foreign countries, mainly just to pinpoint some of the places that we got to go because of it. Like, there's a Green Beret team in Jordan. There's also a Marine Reserve unit in Jordan that we got to work with, and they would like come through our schoolhouse before they went over there to learn, different stuff, foreign weapons. There was a big foreign weapons thing. AKs, PKMs, all that kind of stuff. Nice. So that there was a section that taught foreign weapons, and then there was a section that nobody liked, but it was the more important section was the academic section. So like, how to your whole goal of being down there, like how to advise, somebody from a foreign country, and like different scenarios to get you in like a mindset of like what problems that you'd see and work through and stuff like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, it was a really good course. Usually teams would come through for, depending on their training package, it'd be anywhere from a month to about like 3 months. And each like week and a half or week or whatever, they would go through a different like section of training. Sometimes they would leave and come back, and they'd have to go do like some other specialized training somewhere else. But basically we were the last schoolhouse they went through before they got deployed. Yeah. My particular section was in charge of the force protection, which happened to include SEER. So in order to teach the level of SEER that the DoD determined that they needed, they sent us up to the CRCs, because CRC is like the highest level. So then we were trained at the highest level and we taught a lower level. So that's why we went. We also did a lot of like driver, tactical driving. So like literally, they lined up some stuff with Constellus, or what used to be Blackwater, and Academy, or whatever the hell they're called now. But they set us up with driver training down there, and dude, we were like literally these guys that had done driving for like a living, race car drivers, like guys that had been driving their entire life, were like teaching how to drive in like corner, and like, dude, we were running these Crown Vics around this track like they were
dude
stolen.
That's cool as shit.
It was sick, dude. And they're like, oh,
like
do this. Yeah, it was a blast.
Can we go sign up for this now?
Yeah, well, now that I'm thinking, like, if I ever have a kid and like all that stuff, like he's gonna have to do this at some point in his life, because it has definitely made me like way more and like as a better driver just all around. To be honest with you, like down deep, a way better driver because of it. But it was like so much fun, dude. And I mean, we did like some like we did an off-road course, and like we had these Xteras, and dude, they were just all over this hard stuff, like self-recovering with winches. I mean, this is all,
dude, that's so
this
cool.
was all training, dude. And we got to do that stuff. We got to do a lot of and I got to go through that course twice.
So you're getting paid to do that?
Oh yeah, we were getting paid to do this. So the other thing was had a very I've got some really, really great friends that came out of that unit, but one in particular, the guy was a XO of a Chesapeake Police Department with the SWAT team, and so he came on as what's called a Marine IMA, which is Individual Marine Augment. So basically, if you have a set of skills, the Marine Corps, and you're in the reserve program, the Marine Corps is like, well, why don't you come on active duty and we can use your skills for a certain amount of time, and that can be like 2 to 3 years. And each time the Chesapeake Police Department basically keeps him on as he basically works both jobs, but like doesn't have to go to work for the police department. But like he would still go to like SWAT calls and shit. And I actually got to go with him on one. That was super,
that's
super sick, dude. It was so sick.
Hell yeah.
It was 4:00 in the morning, dude. We're like rolling around in this giant armored thing all through the streets of Chesapeake, Virginia. And then like about 4:45 in the morning, they set off all these distraction devices, and they went in and hit this like giant house full of like just drug dealers, and there's a bunch of drugs in there. I think there's like 9 people in there and like 4 kids living in this like one small ass house. And
did you run in there with them?
No, I didn't. No, they didn't let me do that shit. But I got
like a special helmet on you.
I was literally like hanging out in the like the armored car, just like watching. And I mean, it was sick, dude. They busted open the door and they brought everybody out. It was without incident, luckily. But it was pretty sick.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah,
hell yeah, that's cool.
And so anyway, he was a master guns in the Marine Corps. He taught me a lot about pistol shooting and just really just mindset and far as mindset, if like violence is the answer. He was very like into that stuff. He studied that stuff, and we actually taught classes on that stuff. And it was all about like human, like reading like human behaviors and stuff like that, and predicting actions, and all the cool stuff that I'm sure you learned about in psychology.
Yeah, a little bit.
And like a little bit like how your brain works and how it reacts in certain situations with adrenaline and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we haven't covered we haven't covered anything along those lines yet, but that sounds like
behavior theories kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people do what they do.
To a degree. I mean, that's probably some more advanced courses too. But I mean, his was definitely like specialized too.
Oh, his was very much directed in like how to kill people. Yeah. So I got to work with him. He was a great influence in my life. And then of course I got this one. He was a gunnery sergeant. He's a civilian contractor now, dirty civilian contractor working for the DOD. But at the time, him and I became just really good friends. I mean, we really just worked well together. And we got to. I think because of him, we were able to accomplish a lot. And one of the things that brought a lot of attention, which eventually ended the unit, was our course and how we trained for it. Because we were teaching SEER, that was probably like the biggest, steepest, like I would say, like growing up level is when I got put in there. And all that kind of stuff happens for a reason, it seems, or just happens because that's what it does. But excuse me, sorry. Him and I worked well together. Actually, we were at SEER, and there was another gunnery sergeant there, and we were all in the same unit, and we all 3 got to go together. So we knew each other, which kind of helps out in this situation. But they said it was one of the best classes that had gone through the schoolhouse in a while. And honestly, it was because we just worked the three of us worked so well together. They hadn't had, so there's a part in the SEER program where near the end where the point is to try and, if you can, get somebody to escape, and how to help deliver that message throughout the POW camp, essentially.
Yeah.
And we were actually one of the first classes, and he said in probably 2 or 3 years, to have somebody actually escape and not get caught. And that's because he said it was so perfectly executed. He said the guy hit the button that, there's a room, there's, briefings and stuff. They said, well, this is the goal of this training exercise. And like after like 4 days, they give you a big briefing before you go up there, and then you're literally like locked in a concrete cell for, I think the whole time you're up there, you're up there for a full week. You do like some evasion courses, and actually we did so well on the evasion course that we had to literally like pause our section did, because we were so far ahead of all the other teams.
Nice.
Yeah, so they actually had to put us in like a temporary training pause because they weren't able to go farther with us at the time.
That's pretty sick, man. I mean, I wish I could just go sign up for this.
It was, I totally would. I mean, you could totally make money off of that, like having people do actual like POW detention and stuff. It's pretty sick, but it's also, there's also like a I don't know if that's the right term, psychiatric thing to it. Like basically the instructors have to have they have a psychologist there on staff, not for like the students, but for the instructors, because they have to behave in such a manner for such a long period of time and role play as a bad guy.
They don't want him to like actually become that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's actually like a concern. And
interesting.
Yeah, it's and then like we're teaching not to quite that level, but like a similar level for countries going over like the Middle East and stuff like that, and around like Jordan and Syria and all that. So we were trying to simulate possible scenarios that they could potentially, hopefully they never do, but could potentially see themselves in if they get detained or captured or something like that. So yeah, it was pretty sick, dude. But it was pretty surreal. Like I said, I got to do a lot of cool stuff, man. I shot so many I mean, we were at the pistol range. At one point, I don't shoot much anymore, and I probably should, but we were shooting probably at least once a month, maybe for like a week at a time. I mean, like the whole week would be shooting.
Yeah.
And I was probably going like once a month. I mean, I used to be a really damn good shot, especially with pistols. We did a lot of like quick fire stuff from the holster and concealed carry stuff. So a lot of like cool, unique, like specialized training that I really never got to do anything with post Marine Corps.
Yeah, man. I unfortunately, a lot of that doesn't transfer to most jobs out here.
Yeah. And I think that was like the hardest thing to swallow too. Like once I left the Marine Corps was like all these cool skill sets I can't do anything with outside of the Marine Corps. And so like that's when I started looking at a lot of like different agencies and FBI, CIA, U.S. Marshals, all that stuff. And I really wanted to be able to put myself into a position where I could use those skills because I had spent so long, refining them and perfecting them. And then, I don't know. And then, like I said, we were talking earlier, I think before we started recording, but I was in a lot of interview processes, State Department, CIA, FBI, all that stuff. And I don't know. I just never got like a sense that like I wanted to be there, and I really wanted to like work in these environments. So I just left, and I ended up taking a construction job down in Orlando.
Yeah, something inside was just like, this ain't for me.
It just wasn't. Yeah, I never got I never was like, man, this is really what I can see myself doing. It just was always like I just felt like I was going through the motions, and yeah, I just
your heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, my heart wasn't in it, and so I said, well, I got to do something else, and I tried to get on with some. Everybody at the time when I got out in 2018, there was a lot of military contractors, and there was a lot of people trying to start their own military contracts because that shit has gotten just so out of hand.
Yeah, I had a friend that was in Blackwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They that I think that was probably what started off was all the Blackwater stuff, and then they got themselves into some trouble, and and then everybody wants to be a military contractor and be cool and high speed, and then like, so I tried to get into like some of that stuff, and it just didn't work out, and then I ended up, I took a random job working for a production home builder down in Orlando, dude.
And you weren't a fan of that?
No, it was a good learning experience, construction-wise, and I definitely enjoyed it. I hated the corporate layout, all this stuff. I mean, there were so many damn problems and like communication issues throughout the entire like production period with the home office and the corporate office. It was silly.
I mean, it was just a bridge to where you're at now, though.
Yeah. I mean, I made good money, like. A lot of bonuses if you complete stuff on time or if you get certain like scores. Everything's like rated, like customer service satisfaction things. I hated dealing with homeowners because they were like never happy. It's not to like talk bad. Like there's nothing wrong with production homes, but like you got to understand like a production home is built for speed, efficiency, and like low cost, right? For the people doing it. So. For the builders, and then like they're trying to sell that product to somebody who can afford it. I mean, like I said, most of them are decent houses, but sometimes they try and get the cheapest contractors in there. They try and use the cheapest materials sometimes if they can get away with it. I mean, they still got to build it to a code, so it's still like dependable. But they try and obviously cut as much cost out as they can. And so like everybody that came through was always like super pissed that the design office told them they were getting one thing and like. On paper, this is what it looked like, and then like they go to put it in, and that's like not what it looks like at all. And then I was like, oh damn it, or like I changed it, like we put a change order in for this tile, dude. We ripped up so many damn tile floors. I've ripped up driveways. I've basically we've gutted walls, man. We've gutted, dude. Just the amount of rework that was done was just in the early stages. It was ridiculous, dude. And then like I of course I got better at it. Like, check the plans, make sure to go over it with the homeowner and stuff, and like you get better at it. But it was the inefficiency just killed me.
Someone buys a home and then they like look at it and they're like, dude, it's missing the second floor. It came with the second floor.
Dude. The incompetence is like something you call and you're like trying to figure out what's going on, and like people are like, oh, I don't know, and you're like, what boy. Do you know? But God. Yeah, so it was super frustrating. I made a lot of money, but I also worked quite a bit, and it just got kind of monotonous, and so I gave that a solid year. I feel like if you're gonna try a new job, if it's as long as it's not like affecting you physically or mentally or anything,
give it a year.
Give it a year. Give it a full year.
Just because things could shift.
Yeah, when I look at resumes and stuff, I try and see. I try and see if they've jumped around. 3 months here, 6 months here, 8 months here, whatever. But if somebody's moved jobs twice, as long as they've been there for about a year, I'll be like, I'll let it slide, because sometimes you get in there, you give it a year, see if you like it, see if it gets better, or see And if it doesn't, then you shouldn't stay around there if it doesn't, bring you happiness and joy and all that stuff.
So you gave it a good year, and then
I gave it a good year, and I had a friend of mine, actually the girl I was dating down in Orlando, her friend offered me a job as they were a small business, woman owned. It was called 15 Light Years, and they're actually still in business and they're doing well. They needed a commercial project manager for some of their solar company, or for some of their solar projects, so I came on board with them, and that was pretty fun. Got a lot to do with like independent work, and I would do a little bit of traveling just around the state of Florida for projects and stuff, and a lot of logistics and stuff like that. But it ended up not working out. They had a gentleman there, and him and I didn't see eye to eye, and and there was some shifting of positions, and basically it was like a movie. Like somebody quits their job, he just goes in, and it turns into a huge argument. You're like, F you, I'm out, peace. And that's kind of like what it was. Like him and I got into an argument about some stuff, and I won't get into the specifics, but basically I just lost my temper on him, and I just ended up yelling at him, and I walked out and slammed the door, and I went back to my office, and like I looked back in the back, and it was like you could like feel the tension in the back office, like where everybody worked.
Nobody was saying shit.
Yeah, everybody just dead silence, dude. And I just went in there and I closed the door, dude. I just started packing up my stuff, and I just walked out. Unfortunately, the owner and I are still friends. She's also let that guy go since then, and she called me the day she did, and she was like, "Guess who I just let go?" And I was like, "Oh, go figure."
About damn time.
Yeah, I was like 2 years later, So, but that forced me, and that's when I started talking. I spent about 6 or 7 months literally just like figuring out what the hell I wanted to do, man. I pretty much burned up any money I'd saved, any of that stuff, just trying to like figure it out. And I was hanging out with my dad, and back to that story, he's like, dude, he's like, you're gonna just have to, understand, like, you're never gonna be happy working for somebody else because it's just who you are and your personality. And I was like,
bro, I figured that out.
I was like, word.
I figured that out when I was in the military. Not knocking it, but I was like, man, like, I'm glad I did it, and I understand, like, you got to take orders, this and that. One, I just couldn't. There's certain people, like, why do I got to take orders from this guy? Like, he tested better than me. That's
That's actually where it started for me too. Now that you say that does bring up a memory, and that's kind of where it started for me too. That kind of started turning me off towards like working for the federal government and like and staying in the military and stuff. It was like one particular instance, and same thing, dude. I just like, why?
Yeah, dude, just like And then, if you continue down that path, you're just going to keep dealing with that. And like I said, and I'm knocking it because I know a lot of guys still stayed 100%. In and like, y'all fucking rock. But for me specifically, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. And then even when getting out, is like working different jobs and like having someone over me, it's just like, it just irked me, man.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. Yeah. I mean, like sometimes you just wake up and you're like, why am I doing this again? And you go to work and you're like, I hate this particular thing, and you want to change it, and like you can't because it's not in your control, and it's like, and it's not like a control thing. It's just like I can do it so much better than this guy can, and I can do it so much better than this guy can, and and some of it I think too is like you just want to learn on your own. I mean, I think that's how, I know that's particularly like how I learn best is like just doing it on my own.
Dude, there's a million things I probably could have learned starting this business from books and for business success.
Yeah.
But dude, I've had to get burned a lot. I've had to make a lot of mistakes, but I've learned a lot of fucking valuable stuff, and I've learned a lot about myself along the way, and it's
for sure. For sure.
Thinking back to what your dad said, or no, what you were saying earlier about, your grades.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed, and a lot of like entrepreneurs that end up being extremely successful weren't the best students.
Oh yeah.
But everybody's got different minds. That's why I don't like the school structure. Because I think it's blanket across everything, but like, dude, everybody's different, man, and so they learn things differently and they apply themselves differently.
The big thing now is what are those? They're becoming more and more popular. And
the science schools?
They're STEM schools, yeah.
STEM school,
sure.
yeah. I know, buddy. I got a buddy that's a principal at one of those.
Yeah, it's damn, dude, the name's slipping me, but it's not like your standard school, and they're more like a hands-on learning kind of thing, and you kind of learn at like the stuff you want to learn for your like age group. Is it Montessori school? Am I saying that right? Isn't Montessori like a church thing?
Yeah, I think a monastery is. But I feel like it's a school thing too.
It's something called like, it's something like that. Montessori. I think it's Montessori school.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to Google. Yeah, we're gonna have to look that one up and
Montessori
schools.
I got a friend that
it's a type of school.
Yeah, I got a friend that, I mean, they live north of like Alexandria, like across 40 up that way.
Yeah.
Past Lebanon.
Yeah.
And they got their kids go to a school that's like it's a house, and these people were teachers and stuff, but they started a school. It's on like 35 acres.
Yeah.
And like they do schoolwork, but they also take them out and like gather eggs and learn how to plant stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, dude.
Yeah. Like life skills.
Yeah.
And actually going back on that, and I kind of glossed over it. I said my dad used to work a lot, but I mean, he was definitely there, and he was always there. But like, we used to, I mean, it was weekends. I mean, I worked anytime we were home for summer or like winter break or whatever. And I just remember like, dude, I used to be the king of like laying sod and like taking care of lawns and like, so, I mean, we did so much damn yard work growing up, man. It was unbelievable. I mean, like Mother's Day, like we go do mother stuff, and then it's like, well, boys, let's get out there and throw some sod.
It looks like something needs to be done out there. It's like, Dad, I just want to freaking chill.
It's like Saturday morning. He's like, you going to sweep the garage today or what? And you're like, dude, it's 10 a.m.
Dad.
Yeah. I'm so home from summer break. And he's like, I don't care, get to work.
No fun, no relaxation. But yeah, I think, but that's the thing is like, it's just, I thought there are a lot of people that have their own businesses and have done really well, and they're like, yeah, dude, I sucked as a student. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, just people learn so much differently. There's so many different ways to learn, and you know, I think the more that they've studied that, you know, the more you know, true it is. You have people that are more visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners. That's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's like people like us, man. I mean, it's like I'd rather get the experience and the wisdom at the same time rather than just somebody give me wisdom.
yeah, exactly, man. So I think it's fun, and so yeah, like you said, you went back to that conversation with your dad, and he was like, you know, I think you just don't like working for anybody else. So after that stint down in Florida, it was pretty much like, hey, I'm gonna build my own business in Tennessee, right?
Yeah. So I was always like pretty envious that my dad had his own business and the, you know, all the stuff he could do and the freedom he had for it. And so he was kind of, you know, I really once I you know, it started to like set in like what he had accomplished and what he had done, I was like, man, I want that. You know, I want to be able to say I've done something like that. And yeah, I mean, all his brothers, for the more or less, ran their own business at some point during their life. And you know, like I know I've said it a couple times, but like just the amount that he had to accomplish to get to one where he is today, but also to like for me to get where I'm in today because of him. And my mom too. I did not discount her at all by any means, but to get to where I had, or to be who I am, basically because of what they, you know, the
instilled in you
forth, and what they instilled in me. You know, I can't ever remember like growing up without anything we didn't need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, very fortunate. You know, and I 100% say that's because my parents like worked their dick off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, and you know. And now I'm sure at this point in your life and where you're at with your business, you've probably been reflecting on it quite a bit.
Oh, huge amounts. Yeah, huge amounts. So there was like damn, I don't really know. I kind of forget her title, but she's more of like she's a therapist, like certified, but she focuses more on like you building like what you want to get out of life, kind of like what, you know, there was a specific name for it, but I forget what it is. But she asked me, she's like, well, you know, what's your driving force? And I think, you know, similar question what you just asked. And I think that's like when it kind of hit me, and I actually got like a little, like choked up from it. I'm not like a guy who like cries or anything like that. So it just, I don't know, for some reason I remember that when she asked that, I don't know if it was the way she asked it or what, but
so a therapist that you were going to?
It was all via telephone. It was she's like a business therapist is definitely not the right term by any means, but her it's to help you, like you do some personality tests and stuff like that, and so she can kind of, you know, guide you in the right direction, and then she just kind of like, it's more, not life coach isn't even the right word, but just kind of like some like in between there, man. And she like helps you find like the like she helps you encourage like what you like to do, basically. She helps you pursue,
like a career advisor or something.
Yeah, career therapist, something like that. Yeah. So anyway, she'd asked, you know, that question about, you know, who's the most influential person in your life, and for some reason it hit me, and I couldn't even get the words out, and I mean, everything pretty much like pointed to my old man, because he just like everything he had sacrificed and done, and like it for some reason it just like all clicked, and I was like, damn. I was like, you know, he really put forth like just a huge effort to make sure that his family was successful. You know what I'm saying? And that like his kids were successful, and you know, all my siblings are doing very well. And you know, like super fortunate for all that, of course. I mean, it's you know, not everybody's born with the same deck of cards. So you know, just being able to be a part of that, and you know, trying to appreciate that. I mean, that's
That's no, that's important. I mean, it probably did hit you because you start to reflect on like, I think maybe you feel like you took it. Did you feel like you took it for granted at some points? Like maybe with school and stuff.
Oh, dude, and
then you kind of feel like selfish because I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Hey, go ahead.
Because I think I think about my father. My dad didn't have a business. It's funny because my dad he went to Citadel, and you said you were looking at these federal jobs, and my dad actually had tested, and he was like one step from like going to the FBI.
Yeah,
like he passed the exam and everything. They were about to send him to New York, and then they were about to have me though, and they're like, we don't want to raise him in New York, and he shifted away from that. I was like, Dad,
solid life choice.
I was like, Dad, and you didn't end up being a Fed. So good for you. No, but he wanted to do like some, in his mind, I'm sure like you envisioned doing some pretty dope shit. And long story short, though, he's been in the trucking business his whole life, and we've moved a lot growing up and whatnot. But I never went without. I always had a good life.
Yeah.
And my dad just like provided and busted his ass. And I think thinking back to when I was like went to the Citadel, and then I left the Citadel, then I went to a different college, and I got hooked on drugs, and I was just so like overwhelmed with like, dude, I'm a freaking loser.
Yeah,
like
such a shithead.
I'm basically just slapping my parents in the face, and like, dude, and they did all this shit for me, man, and like it definitely, you beat yourself up about it, but I think now we're at the point to where like we're sacrificing so much to like create a powerful future for like our family, or maybe one day families, but regardless, we're making a massive sacrifice now. And I could say at the same time, like, I think back on my father and all he's done, and it almost gets me emotional because I'm like, damn, man. And like,
if we started talking about like more like what he's done, there's definitely no doubt in my mind I'd probably get like choked up on something. But
you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, he just, dude, he was just like you said, man. I mean, he just everything my parents did to make sure like we had what we needed. Not always what we wanted, but what we needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was such a, shithead growing up, and like you said, like took a lot of stuff for granted. And you don't really appreciate it till you get older, and you're like, damn, like I probably would have beat my kid if he had said some shit that I used to say,
Yeah, but you were, that's part of being a kid too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of growing up and all that stuff. So,
well, the fact of the matter is that you have that appreciation and that gratitude for him now.
Yeah, and I mean and I want to make sure, like, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, making sure that the guys that my technicians and those guys down there, they just I want to be able to take what I known and can appreciate from him and try and help them get along in their life and all that stuff, so that they can also be successful and have a leg up, man. I mean, it's I feel like the world moves so fast these days, and everything comes so quickly, and stuff gets so blown out of proportion, and everybody's all about Instagram this and Instagram, just being somebody that doesn't matter. And I don't have to. The big thing is, like, I don't have to matter to many people, but I want to matter to some people, and be something. I think that's kind of like how your legacy lives on. It's not how many people remember you, it's just like who remembers you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like the solidity of the impact you made in their lives,
right? Yeah, like I know I've helped these 10 people out as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. That's why like the purpose of this is like sharing stories, but creating impactful stuff.
Right.
That way you have something of value that carries on.
Right. Hopefully somebody, listens to this at some point and like, I'm not saying like change their life, but at least gives them a direction or helps them make a decision better than what they had before they listened to it.
No, I mean, I think there's a relatability and connection within every one of these stories. That's the cool part about it, because there's so many different, like I said, there's so many different backgrounds and walks of life in here, and so many different experiences. I mean, from people that have, been addicted to drugs to like in prison facing like 60 years, like to this, to that have totally changed their lives. And just to see like the relation and the connection people have, it's so cool, and then like, when I'm like, I got a bloodline that's 100 years after I'm dead, and they're able to like get on the internet and like learn about me and like hear, you know, I think that's such a fascinating thing. And they're gonna be like, dude, like, man, that my great grandfather was a fucking cool dude, and he you know, that he's sharing everything, you know, like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's cool to be able to put that out there.
Totally on board. I mean, yeah, it's speaking of, I mean, but my dad's built more or less a you know, something that'll probably go on for many years, probably after even I die. You know, I mean, he's built a company in South Pittsburgh that employs like 200 people, and he's got like, you know, international businesses that are employing more people, and like,
that's crazy.
It's a privately owned company that he's made a shit ton of money, and now he's more along the lines of like taking care of all the people that have helped him get there. I mean, there's a lot of the employee benefits and stuff are like ridiculous.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, they've got, of course, maternity leave and stuff like that, but they also have paternity leave now for the father. So I mean, like, that's obviously rare. Like you had your baby and you had to take time off work to make sure your wife and your daughter were you know.
Lydia had Ozzy on a Friday. I was back at work on Monday.
Well, you know, you're a single business owner, so you got to do what you got to do.
What's crazy is those are my latest nights. I was here till like 10 p.m. every night.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You had to sacrifice so much time during the day to make sure they had what they did, and then you still had to like take care of your shit at night. So I mean, like, you know, you got to think, if you have an employee that's you know, busting his ass at work, you know, every day from 8 to 5, and then like his wife has a baby and it's their first. Especially their first one, but even more so like their second or third one. I mean, there's a lot of shit that has to be covered in just life stuff during those, especially those first like couple weeks.
Sometimes they don't even care. I mean, some of these businesses don't. I mean, and it's pretty shitty, man, because you got to take care of the people that keep the wheels turning.
Oh, 100%, dude. I mean, and to be honest, like, you look across the street and you have the Amazon warehouse there, and like, I've had friends that have worked for Amazon that just say it's like a freaking kennel club, dude. That's just terrible.
Well, yeah, it's just a $1 billion machine that just keeps. It's all about moving and production,
profit margins.
There's always going to be somebody that they can bring in to do it. Yeah, and they don't really care about people like that, man. And so, and that's like the goal for me as I grow. You know, like, I want everybody that's involved with whatever is done here. Yeah, with RP, I want to take care of them for sure, man. You know, I want to impact lives on a whole other level. Actually, I got a really cool plan. I'll share that with you later.
Yeah, I mean, same boat for us, man. I mean, the guys that have that are working for via volunteer fleet right now are you know, hopefully guys that'll still be there in like 10 or 15 years, and you know, they've already given quite a lot to help us grow. I mean, just the amount of effort and I mean, you know, it's a lot different when somebody comes in for a job and they're like, how long have you been open? You're like, 12 months. And they're like, I'm sorry. You're like, 12 months.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like just zero stability. You know, from their viewpoint, there's like zero stability, and they you know, are taking a risk to come work for you, and you know, hopefully that you're able to return that sacrifice that they're making. I mean, it's you know, I think that's important. I think a lot more businesses should do that, because a lot of them wouldn't be where they are today without, you know, the people that are working for them. So
yeah,
I think
for sure.
That's a huge thing.
Oh, without a doubt, man.
And I would say that's probably one thing that you know, when I was in production home building, I didn't feel like they could, and also, like you said, in the military is when it kind of started happening. Like, you're pretty much just a number on a spreadsheet.
Oh, 100%.
Filling a billet that is empty, and if you're not there, somebody else is going to fill it.
Yeah, and you got leadership and people that care.
Yeah.
But then you got a lot of people that you don't know that don't give a shit. Like, it's just part of it, right? Like, you know, but that's just like any corporation, you know. You're gonna have people that give a crap about you, but then you're gonna have people that are like, no, dude. Like,
well, I mean, that's why, I mean, it's so hard to find good help these days, and a lot of people say that. But it's because I feel like there's a lot of people that honestly just don't give a shit, and they don't have a whole lot of drive in life. So I mean, they'll just literally show up to work. I mean, I can't tell you how many no-shows, how many just no responses after people apply or say, hey, I'll be there for an interview, and just don't show up. And Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable, and I just think they just don't care, and they just come up with every excuse of why they can't be there or what they can't do. I mean, everybody, it's. I feel like there's more people that need to find out why they need to find something to do so that they have some drive in life.
Dude, people lack. Oh my God, man. So when I moved in, like I had wanted to have a handful of trainers here to like do, to basically create their own business. Like you contract, you charge whatever, you just pay a monthly rent.
Yeah.
And dude, I can't tell you how many people I interviewed, like even like college students and people that just had a lot of opportunity. So much opportunity out in front of them. But then the fact that I said, you got to find your own clients,
Yeah.
and cover the rent, that you freaked them out, dude. I'd never hear, they'd ghost me.
Yeah.
Like one girl, I gave a key. It took me 3 months to get a key back from her. She didn't show up to train. I'm like, listen,
never did.
Eventually I had to go get it out of her mailbox. I'm like, dude, so unprofessional.
So unprofessional.
And like if when we take things to the next level and you want to come train near here, I'm going to be like, no, thanks.
Yeah,
like
100%, dude.
And that's just that. But it's just like they're comfortable at the box gym where they got like a trainer station and people just walk up.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is like, you got to go find it and you got to force yourself to be uncomfortable to go get what you need to bring into the space. It's not a huge
right
space.
There, that what you said right there is 100%. I think part of, I mean, that's you have to find yourself at some point, and in order to do that, you have to, like they say, you have to get outside your box and be uncomfortable. And I mean, literally, if you're not uncomfortable and challenging yourself, I think every day, you'd lose that drive, man. Because I mean, that's like I'm not like a super big people person. I don't like hanging out with a whole lot of people. And I don't like hanging out in big crowds, but
feel you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to force yourself to go out there and talk and communicate with people that you may not necessarily like, or that, you just walking up and, trying to sell your business to them is a super uncomfortable feeling, because you're like, in order to succeed, I have to put myself in a situation where, I've got to win this guy's confidence and acceptance,
and they invest into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, and now I go home and my dad's talking to me about business. When it comes to working together, my dad and I, we just always butt heads. That's when people are like, well, why don't you work for your dad, blah blah, or why don't you be part of your dad's company? And it's not that I, don't want to be. One, I just have absolute zero interest in the chemical industry. I worked there, but when I was a kid, through high school and summers and college and all that stuff. It was all like the manual labor stuff. He put me in the office one year and I was like falling asleep at the desk. I hated it, dude. And he actually sent me out with one of his sales ladies down to Atlanta one time when I think I was in college, home for the summer. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna go hang out with the sales lady for a day and just check that out." And I was like falling asleep. Like I was so bored out of my mind, dude. I was like, "This is so dumb."
Funny.
Yeah. So my dad and I are very much alike, so we always like butt heads when we like work together and stuff like that. So I mean, we've learned to maneuver around that stuff and just understand like that's just how it's going to be, and we can't let it affect our relationship. So I would say, I mean, my dad and I are probably now closer than ever, which I'm super thankful for. But it is I totally lost my train of thought.
It's okay. We'll circle back around.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll come back around to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Totally just.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did say something about my mom being proud, so you said
that's
that.
Right. Yeah. So like now when you go home and dad's like, "Oh, how's business?" and mom's like, "How business?" They're like, "Oh, we're so proud of you." And it's like, it's like, yeah, you feel like a kid again. You're like, "Oh yeah."
Oh my God, thank you so much.
I know, it's so good.
It is cool though, man. I mean, they see the effort you put in. My mom's just like, get your blood pressure checked, go to the doctor. They think I'm gonna freaking.
That's my mom's biggest concern too. It's like, are you going to the doctor? Have you gone to the dentist? It's
You've
like,
aged so much in the past 2 years.
You've lost, I'm like, so much weight.
I'm like, thanks. Like, oh, God, but I do get all these grays and shit.
And my mom's like, you've gotten skinny, and I'm like, oh well, you would too if you worked every damn day for 16 hours.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's it changes. It does change you even physically, right? The stress and all the constant work, but. It's like we were saying too, getting out there and networking, like getting out of your comfort zone. I'm not a huge fan of it either. Like I'm really good at one-on-one conversation. I love interacting with people, but like on a big scale, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, hate it.
Who are these people? And like I just don't like
sensory overload.
Yeah, and I don't like crowds, and I'm just like, God dang it. But like, I got this thing I'm going to in September, and I was invited to. It's on a Saturday, and there's just going to be like a lot of fitness professionals there and whatnot, and I told Lydia, I was like, I need to go to that. I was like, I need to start getting into those things because like that's going to help. That's only going to take me to another level, and I'm going to get to interact with people and also talk about what I do. And I need to be more proactive with like, even if it's just once a week, once every couple of weeks, going to different things to network because like that's the one place I'm lacking because I'm always in these four walls, just working on the business. But
100%,
there's that could be so effective just by getting out there and connecting.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the some of it is like you get so focused on, like you said, these four walls and like what happens inside of here, and you get super focused on that, and sometimes you do forget to like be like, oh, I need to go out and like be a person, rather than just a machine.
Everybody just thinks I'm like AI. They're like, dude, this guy's just an AI. He's not even real. No, but yeah, and that's the thing. And so I had interviewed all these people, but they just couldn't. They felt comfortable like getting their clients, and they're like, cool, you're gonna get paid at an hourly pay.
Yeah.
When you could come here, and if you actually push hard enough, you can charge your clients what you want. I don't oversee any of that, but it's just like such a scary thought. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to open up an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And just, it fell through so many times, dude. I got so fucking tired of it. I was like, I'm going to pick up my clientele, and then the opportunity will come. And then I got connected with Arsenio, and dude, he was like, hey, I was like, listen, I'll let you like basically take over the gym.
Yeah.
And so him and his dude, he works a full-time job as a for TDOT. He does the some kind of engineering for TDOT.
Like for the roadways and stuff.
Yeah. And but then he teaches classes in the mornings and the evenings, and like
it's nuts, dude.
And his wife teaches classes too, and they got 2 kids. And I'm like, dude, there's some ambition, there's some drive, man. I really appreciate that shit.
It's so good to see. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I like about my guys down the street here is they show up, they put forth a solid amount of effort. Usually when they take lunch, they're usually like researching either one of the jobs they're doing or like something like they're researching to better themselves in their field. And I think that's awesome. And a lot of times, they'll even if they're like stumped on something, they'll when they go home, they'll continue to like, it bothers them that they can't figure it out. So they're like, they want to go and learn as much as they can about it so they can figure it out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Honestly, like, dude, some of these guys are like some of the best. One of the reasons I wanted to start my own automotive repair shop basically is just my love for automobiles and engines and stuff like that, but also because I hate people that say they're good at something and they're really terrible. Like, I got super irritated with like dealerships and mechanics and stuff. Like, oh, you need this or I'll need that, and like it ends up like they're totally dead wrong. So like I wanted to be like the perfect shop, and so like, yeah, I mean everybody makes mistakes, but for instance, like I my buddy Tone actually. Him and I spent a lot of time together in the Marine Corps. He took his car one time to like a shop around Camp Lejeune, which is like outside of Camp Lejeune. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is. I mean, it is. I
hear it's not the nicest.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just like strip clubs, like used car dealerships, furniture stores, and like just people trying to like rip off, business customers any way they can, because they're all military customers. So like they know they're getting a paycheck. So like there was actually like a law introduced basically that banned any loan businesses from like anything over like a certain percentage interest rate if they were giving it to a military person, because like we were saying earlier, like some 19-year-old kid would come back from deployment with a little bit of money and like want to buy a car, and he needs, say he's got like 15 grand and he needs like 50 grand or something total. So he would go to this loan company and they'd give him the rest of the money at some just like 28-30% interest or something like that.
Insane.
So, yeah, which is just absurd over like a 4-year period. So like those payments are just absolutely astronomical.
Yeah.
There's no way that, and then the kid gets upside down, the guy gets the car back, it gets repoed, and the kid's in debt for like ever.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just hate that it's tough to shine, I think, in the repair industry, because you just have so much of that. Everybody's like, oh, I'm a mechanic. And I'm not saying you got to go to like school to be a mechanic, but if you say you're a mechanic and you don't know how to like do simple like diagnostic or like electrical stuff, and then, you know, you just end up messing around and you end up screwing something up, or, you know, I just got super irritated with that. And I just said, screw it, I'm going to work on my own vehicle. Best. Yeah, I want to make sure that if I'm going to work on a vehicle, I know that it's getting done right. I know that's going to be quality and it's going to last. And if I do screw something up, I'm going to go back and fix it.
You're going to take care of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mistakes happen, dude. I mean, it's like you do this every day. Eventually something, you know, you're either going to overlook something or, you know, something like that. So, I mean, I understand, you know, if you know, somebody's working on a car and screws it up, but just not taking responsibility for it was super irritating, which I think a lot of shops try and do. And a lot of shops will try and just like totally screw the customer over, saying they need stuff that they either don't, or, you know, saying, oh, well, this is broken, but they want to turn it into instead of a $35 repair, you know, that's really quick and simple because a fuse is blown, they want to turn it into like a $500 job.
Yeah. And
say, oh, you need this, and this, and an alternator, and blah, blah, blah. And it's so I just
you're doing it with integrity.
Yeah. I wanted to have integrity. I wanted to be honest, and I wanted to be like good and quality. And honestly, like that's our drive. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
We're trying to get there. So
what do you think? You know, we're in this last segment. What do you think that, like, you know, as far as your business goes, what has been like the most difficult thing for you, but also on the other hand, what has been the coolest part of it all?
I would say the most difficult part is, I mean, just the massive amount of information and just everything that comes at you, dude. I mean, all the way from taxes to making sure your invoices are good, to ordering parts, to communicating with, I mean, it's
overwhelming.
The learning, it's so overwhelming, dude. And like you said, I mean, a lot of people, you know, might not hack it. It's not because I mean, the learning curve when I started the business was literally straight up. I mean, like from the time I got my first customer in the door, it was just, I mean, just full throttle all the way up.
Yeah.
As far as just, you know, how to communicate with that customer. I mean, you talk about uncomfortable situations, is like, I'm still uncomfortable about it, and I've been open for 2.5 years, you know? And it's like, it's every day. I mean, it's like I said today, like I just wanted to crawl under the desk and like send everybody home and just like cry.
Yeah, you're like, oh my.
I mean, we had like the plumbing was backed up in the whole building, and it was like coming out of our toilets because it was backed up like farther down, and so like that was part of it. We've got like a truck that's in the shop that it has a newer engine from Ford in it, and we've never pulled one of these particular engines out. And because I think the engine came out in like 2018, so there's not a whole lot of people that have pulled these engines out. Ford just started selling them, crate motors. So, it's all fairly new. So, I mean, there's not like a whole lot of people with the experience pulling this motor out, and we're like trying to, you know, basically have to like disassemble the whole front of the truck to get this engine out because it's just so damn big, and the truck body is like so small, and it's a FedEx truck. So like, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is super hard, and it's taking forever. So, I mean, you know, it's just like every day it's just a different battle, and you just, you know, it's just being able to manage it all and like
adapt,
adapt and survive and come out with a solution, and, you know, it just trying to keep it all cool and running, man. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest challenges, and make sure that the guys are taken care of is it. I mean,
and then you're last, and then it's just like,
yeah, your interests are dead last,
bro. And it's crazy because you're like, well, more business is happening and more is coming in, but I'm like, where's my money?
The last, I would say, since we moved down to the next building, even though we're not neighbors, I mean, the business was coming in when we moved, and that was back in November of last year, of 23. And even Jay, who's my senior tech, we were talking one day, and he's like, "Oh, we'll catch up and it'll slow down." And he said that back in January. I said, "Dude," I started saying that back in November, and it hasn't happened yet. And then like this particular week, it's now August. It's was the 14th, yeah. The months are just, I mean, it's like machine gun fire, dude. It's like, oh, January, February, March.
Yeah,
like
dude.
looking, you're like, dude, what? Like we just had Christmas like last week, you know?
Yeah, man. And then, dude, it's so insane, man. And like, I'm like, holy shit, my daughter's like running around and
dude
talking like it's, you know.
Yeah, dude, 100%. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky enough. I have a goddaughter out in Asheville. She's the daughter of one of my best buds out there, Derek, and his awesome wife Phoebe. So they had a daughter, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna be the godfather." And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude, sweet." So super honored with that. And I mean, dude, I feel like they just had their baby like 6 months ago, and she's coming up on like 3 years old.
Dude,
yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah. And you're working hours you are, it just flies, man. And then you stay so focused and dialed in on time. It's like, bro, you blink your eyes. And I think time's flying kind of for everybody, but I swear it's a little bit different when you're just
like I said, dude. It just everything comes at you so fast, and if you let it overwhelm you, you know, I think that's when you start stumbling and you kind of like lose your focus. So I mean, it's just you've got to just be like a giant big ass funnel.
Just fucking take it. Yeah.
Just take it right to the face, dude. Like fire hydrant right to the face.
You know what's crazy though is like we were talking about. I was talking about the struggle, man. I'm just like, dude, it is tough. Things are expensive as shit nowadays. It's like, dude, every penny that comes in goes out.
Oh yeah.
And then some, and you're like, well, I got to figure out how to pay for this too, you know. And then, but it's crazy. It's like, you realize when having like conversations with you and some other friends, you realize like, bro, there's a lot of freaking people in the same boat.
Oh yeah. Like, and I think, honestly, that's why we connected the way we did. Cause I think some of the first things we talked about were, you know, just getting customers in the door and like retaining customers and like trying to build a revenue stream so you can continue to grow. And it's, yeah, I mean, we're not, too different in like our stages of business. It's just,
but there's so many people out there, and it sucks at the same. It sucks, but it's also like really cool because it's like it's a stage of which you learn the most. You learn what you're all about, but also like you kind of find comfort in knowing that like, hey, there's other people. Like you got like a support group. You start to learn. You're like, hey, dude, you fucking got this. You got this. You can kind of push each other because you get it. You know.
Well, yeah, no, and you're that's. I mean, totally. That's super relatable. I mean, you like, you know, just bouncing again with what you said, you spend so much time, you know, in these four walls that, and you get so focused on what you're doing. You know, sometimes you forget or you meet somebody else that's in a very, very similar situation. It's almost like relieving, you know, because you're like, oh, I'm not the only one out there busting my ass trying to make it work, you know?
Yeah. You're just like, hey, dude, I'm so glad that you're fucking struggling.
I'm so glad your life sucks as much as mine right now because I have no time for shit.
Well, I think but you do stay geared in so much. One thing I've done is get geared in that it's to the point to where like it's isolating. So you do feel alone in it because you're like, you're like, you feel like you can't talk to nobody about it because you're like, dude, I'm just like in my fucking bubble grinding. And so you put yourself in a lonely place of it. Does that make sense?
Well, they always say,
on like a little island.
Yeah. I mean, they always say that, you know, it's, I guess what's something like leader. I just George Bush this quote.
Get him. You know? Or Joe Byram, whatever his name is.
Yeah. That, you know, leadership's super lonely. And not so much like I hate when people are like, oh, you're a natural leader, or you have great leadership skills. I'm like, fuck off, you know. But it's I think it's just your focus and your desire to want to succeed, and you know, you're so focused on that you know, you kind of start cutting off, and this may come across wrongly, but you have to like you start having to like it starts like cutting off all the stuff that kind of like, you know, made you use. So I mean, it's important to make sure you go back and make time for for your family and friends that you've known for so long, because it's so easy to get just wrapped up into the business and just into the lifestyle you're running, that you kind of forget that there's other people out there, and I think, I think a lot of that is, kind of how we were saying earlier, it's just like finding yourself and like finding your drive, and then like realizing like
not losing yourself along the way too.
I mean, I think a real big step to succeeding is not necessarily knowing what you want. I mean, you can always that can change along the way, and you can figure it out. But it's finding out like who you are as a person and what drives you, so that you can make it in day-to-day life. I mean, because it's nuts out there, dude.
It really is, man.
And it's so much more nuts, I think. I don't want to say than it used to be. I'm sure it's all the same, but I mean, they just everything moves so fast. I mean, emails. I mean, nobody sends snail mail. I still have people that like want checks in the mail, and I mean, to be fair, I do too. But there's no way to pay my account online. Like, I have to send them a check. Some of our vendors, and it's like that actually takes a longer process than me like going online, because then I have to go home, I have to get a check, I have to put it in the fucking printer, and then you got to like sit there and type all this shit out, and then you got to send it off, and then it takes 5 days to get there, and then it takes 3 days to clear in the bank. And so like, it's nobody uses mail. Everybody uses email and text messages and phone calls.
Yeah.
And, everything just happens so lickety-split these days.
It's constant, man. But you know what, dude? All that being said, I freaking love it.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
It's awesome. It sucks, but it's awesome. What's the most enjoyable part is like, I'm free to do whatever in the hell I want, dude.
Yeah,
and,
you get to do it your way.
Like, we're a truck repair shop, and we have some customers that bring their old like 60s and 70s cars, and would any other like truck fleet repair shop pull those in? No, but I like working on them because they're fun.
Yeah, they're cool as shit.
They're easy. Yeah, they're easy to work on, and they're cool as shit, and you can make them go brum, 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 brum,
yeah. Yeah, that's so cool.
I mean,
man.
that's the whole point of like doing Motorhead stuff, is because is working on motors. So like, I want to work on everything. Plus, like, dude, it brings in something new to the shop, that the guys can just like come away from the daily, standard big ass trucks and all their electrical and mechanical problems to like something that's like simple and fun, and like, it's cool.
Yeah, switches it up.
Who doesn't like muscle cars?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's good to add that variety to it, man. You do things your way, man, and that's the beauty in it. And when you talk about like the freedom, like obviously people think running a business, like for some reason there's an idea out there that like, oh, you get to make your own hours. And I'm like, those hours are
I get to get
all
up
day,
in the morning.
every day. Yeah.
I get to get up in the morning, and I don't stop until I go to sleep at night. Like, those are my hours.
It's good to, Lydia works from home, and it's good to like, okay, I got to go in a little early, because I still got to make those hours up. If I miss a Saturday all day, like, because I'll do that just to like spend time with my girls. Well, guess what, dude? I'm getting some work done on Sunday, and then I'm doing extra hours on the rest of the following week.
Some weekends I will take like half a Saturday off, and I'll work in the morning. I'll come home at noon, and then I just disconnect everything, like just done. And then like, I'm almost always working on Sundays.
Yeah,
almost always trying to catch up or like fill in some stuff that needs to be done real quick.
Yeah. One thing I learned, I'll never be caught up. I'm always progressing.
Yeah,
but it's just like getting caught up. As soon as I think I even get the slightest like see that a glimpse of caught up,
you're like, oh, the
something
surface.
else comes, and I'm like, nope.
And then a giant shark comes and pulls you all the way back down.
Where's the light? So as long as I'm always moving forward, I feel like just the things are going to keep going. But that's the whole thing, man. And it's I run my business, so I'm able to leave Friday at a certain time, so Lydia can do a meeting, and I get to hang out with Ozzy for a couple hours. But guess what? Like, okay, then I'm back at work.
Yeah, but then those 4 hours you just took off. Well, there goes your Sunday, buddy.
Yeah, so it's not that. It's not like that at all, man. You fucking pour everything you have into it and then some.
Yeah,
but it's a beautiful thing, man. It's so much fun, and I think it's just
I agree.
It's for certain people.
Yeah, and
not saying like other people aren't capable. Well, I mean, I say some aren't, but a lot of people there's people out there that just aren't very capable at all. You got to step it up.
Yeah.
Just in life in general.
Everybody's got the potential. It's just
everybody's got potential.
It's just finding it.
Exactly. But I think it's just, there's certain people that had that switch for running it, but it's just, that's a reason not everybody runs their own business. If everybody ran their own business, it'd be a little crazy.
The responsibilities when you work for somebody else are so minimal.
Well, you need people to work for other people though, to make the machines work. You know what I'm saying? Like you need people to do all the different things. So, but there's going to be the people that like decide to take on their own shit and lead the charge, you know?
When you work for somebody else and like that 5 o'clock hits, and that's like one thing I try and push on my guys. Like when you clock out and you go home for the day, like don't like get away from work. I try not to ever bother them after hours, and like, unless it's like super urgent or like I really need to know something. But it's, you know, on the weekends too, it's like, dude, when you clock out on Friday, like don't even worry about work until Monday morning. Yeah. Because that's your weekend with that's your time with your family where you can recharge, you can deal with your family stuff, you can do stuff so you can be a part of your kid's life or your family's life, whatever it is. So yeah,
for sure, man. And that, you know, personally, I want to be able to open up more time for my family, you know, because like it does fly by fast, and that's the most important thing to me. But you know, that'll come. You just got to. It's that season, right? But I will say we're on like our 5th segment, so this is gonna be we're gonna have to just record again, Greg.
Well, I mean, whatever we got to do, dude. I mean, I kind of figured that would happen. Once we get to talking, dude, we can
just talk about everything. It's cool. It's cool. I also got to be in bed like hopefully like an hour.
I don't even know what time it is, and it's 9:30. We started at what, 7:30?
6:30.
Sorry, about 6:30, 6:45, something like that. Yeah,
that's how it be, dude. But
I'm good, dude.
I do want to ask you. It's my question I ask every episode. Both in your personal life and in business, what is your relentless pursuit?
Dude, I would say my relentless pursuit would be in business. We kind of covered, like, I want to be the best shop. Like, I want to be the shop that, like, people are talking about, like, 3 states away, that you should go to this shop because they know their shit so well. And, you know, like, people are bringing shit that most people either won't work on or can't work on. And you know, knowing that they're going to bring it to us and it's going to be done properly and it's going to be done correct.
Right on, man.
And, you know, going back to customer service, like, I want my customers to know, like, hey, these guys are going to take care of me no matter what, you know?
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're trying to build. And then in my personal life, man, honestly, like, I just want to make sure that I'm, you know, do make an impact on somebody else's life that, you know, also, I would say maybe changes both of our lives, not like dramatically or anything like that, but in a positive manner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, I think, you know, the people you meet just randomly, you know, day to day and stuff like that. You know, I don't want to, you know, be remembered, but I want them to know that, like, somebody out there is definitely. I'm one person that's not trying to, like, screw them over, and, like, I'm, you know, I try and be an honest person and tell people, you know, the truth and with whatever it is that you know, it causes the meeting. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just want to be known as somebody that's honest and truthful and is, like, a good dude. Yeah, that's really, like, I don't want to be known as a dickhead or, like, somebody that's, you know, a slimy POS or anything like that. I just want to be a good dude, man. Really. You
want to be a man that your character is held very high, like you're known for your character.
Right. And honestly, I would say probably currently, and it sounds super cliche and dumb, and you're probably gonna laugh at it and be like, the Captain America and the, like, it was a Chris Evans Captain America guy. It's like, I don't know, I love the Captain America movies because I think he's just, like, the ideal dude, basically. I mean, one, he's a badass, but he just is morally indestructible, you know, and he's just a solid dude, you know.
Oh yeah, I agree, so, dude. Like, he's just
it's like damn, like, Captain America and I would be tight ass friends. I'd let him kick all the ass, but we'd be tight friends.
You know, I got, dude. I agree, man. He's just, like, wholesome.
Yes, wholesome. You know, like,
But I like Captain America.
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. He's just like a wholesome.
He's a wholesome dude.
Wholesome dude that just.
But
he embraces the second. He just works through it. He's like, oh, it's just another step.
Good. Thanks, Captain America, for ending this segment. Greg, it was great having you. The camera's about to cut off, but I love you, dude.
And man, I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, Joe. It's been a damn pleasure, and I enjoyed this. And maybe in 100 episodes, you'll invite me back for your 210th.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait, bro. Hey, grateful for you, man.
Hey, thanks, dude.